Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Shine Like a Diamond. Nice to have you here with us. Today, I have a special guest. It's Kacie, coming to us from Bali. She's a dear sister that I connected with Guardians of Gaia group online. And yeah, she has a lot of important special gifts that are here to assist humanity and especially working with Gaia in the times of Lemuria. Um, you did send me your bio, which I think's incredible, but I actually just want to start with you just sharing a little bit about, yeah, your journey coming into the world. How was it, and whether you were always gifted and supported with your gift, or whether there was a time where there was a bit of a catalyst to step back into it, or how it flowed for you. That would be cool.
Yes, thank you, Jacob. I'm happy to be here and connect with you. Yes, I was definitely kind of catapulted into where I am now. I had my awakening around 2012, 2013. I feel like a lot of us did. At that time, there was a great shift on the earth happening energetically. And at that time, for me, I had just booked a trip to go over to the Hawaiian Islands for the first time. I do massage, and so I was going to learn Lomi Lomi with the hot rocks and the hot stones and going to Maui specifically. And when I stepped onto the island, my soul felt like it came back home for the first time. And I just started crying and I didn't want to leave. And such a blessing that my teacher, my kumu at that time, she had special gifts as well. So she didn't just teach us about massage and Lomi, she took us to all the sacred sites on the island. And as she did that, my gifts began to turn on. I began to see things and I began to have my hands turn on energetically to give energy. And my soul began to have fragments of memories that popped back in. And every day I would cry and release and went through this process. But I noticed that not everyone around me was going through the same thing. So it was a little bit of an isolating experience. And I was there with my husband, my partner at that time, and he definitely did not shift. So that created like a big ravine between us and caused crunchiness to kind of happen in between our relationship. But when I came back home, back to the US, my hands would still turn on when I would work with clients, and I didn't really understand what that was about. So I had to find energy teachers to kind of teach me how to use my gifts. I signed up for Reiki, but really my beautiful teachers ended up just teaching me, oh, these are your gifts from Lemuria. We're going to help you so that you can use them to your fullness. And you don't really need Reiki. You just need to understand what you're doing and what you're here to do. So as time progressed, I would learn about energy work on clients. I started having guides that would come into my sessions, either for specifically for that client or guides just for me to kind of teach me how to play with the energy and how to have little light symbols that would pop up when I was working on somebody and how to activate that and what that meant. So I had a couple different guides that would work with me in different ways. And then I started to work more deeply with clients and call in clients that wanted to kind of explore consciousness, wanted to understand their bodies more. And then I would use the physical body to tap into past life things, where blocks were, things like this. So we did soul work on top of physical work. It's kind of like a hybrid session that I would do with my clients. And I still do that now. I still do physical work, but I also see clients online and just do work through the body, but energetically, and make shifts that way. And both are valuable, both are beautiful. Sometimes we need that physical to help ground things into the body and help the body to come with us and remind us that our bodies are coming with us. So some of that physical deep work is actually really supportive. And sometimes when we get our bodies into balance, we're ready to take off and just do the energetic work and play out in the cosmos and call in all the aspects of self that are ready to come in. So I'm happy to play in both realms at the same time.
Beautiful. Yeah, wow, it's amazing. I love how you were just guided to the right people when you needed. They just showed up, and the most important thing is to know your own power, and you didn't have to be taught anything. That came like Reiki. It was more about, okay, you've got this gift in you. Let's get it going. And And it sounds like it was quite easy, was it? It sounds very easy, like you just said yes, and the next bit turned up in the next stage, and you just got, yeah, more and more deeper with it.
Yeah, the more I say yes to the universe and the more I step into what I'm being asked to, the more unlocking unfolds or like the pathways become clear for me. And it's not necessarily a struggle. I'm usually very clear on what's being asked of me. And so I've never had that like doubt kind of be a part of my experience. It's very much, yes, you're being called here. Yes, you're being called here. Are you going to show up and do it? And if you do, all this abundance shows up, or you're led to the right person to open up these doors. I would sign up for classes for things, and I'd be the only one that was there with the teacher. And at first I was like, what is happening? And then I realized that it was because what I needed to be taught was very specific for my mission, right? And so it just came to be that it was like something that was not a surprise anymore.
So all the
Yeah.
higher selves and guides were all like, okay, yeah, this person thought they were coming, but no, actually now this lady Casey's coming along. We actually just need her to be there for that's
Yeah.
purpose.
And
And funny
using that
things happen
teacher,
to other. Hmm?
go ahead. And just
And
using that teacher as like a channel for what needed to come through. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And then you hear, and the other side of it is that other people were like, oh, I was sure I was going to this thing. And then this thing that I didn't know about came into my life and I went off in this direction. And
Mhm.
yeah, that's also really beautiful how that happens. So you're there now. What you have a mission that you're doing at the moment in Bali. Would you like to share some of that with us?
I'm happy to. So part of my mission here on the earth, I work with volcanoes and mountains. I get called to places on the earth as an activator, and I help the volcanoes open up into their cosmic portals. That's part of my job. And so I've gone to Big Island a number of times. I've gone to different places. I go to Shasta regularly, right? I work with these almost as family members to me. They are very close. And from my remembrance in Lemuria, each one of these volcanoes has like a crystal temple inside, or others might see that there's a pyramid inside. It's an activation place, a place for people to turn on and activate, but also a place for those volcanoes or mountains to store cosmic energy and to be ground into the earth. So part of the reason why I'm here in Bali is because I was working with the volcanoes in Java for a while. And then I also worked directly with one of the big volcanoes here in Bali. And I was like camping out for a couple of days directly on that volcano and working very intimately with him. It was a
Mm.
beautiful experience.
Yeah, that sounds
But
amazing.
yeah, so that's where the volcanoes come in. Um, but I'm also have a beautiful experience of being able to connect with a soul sister and a soul brother from my monad group here. And this is the first time that I get to meet them in physicality and work with them directly. And the special thing about connecting to your soul group, your monad group, is that you guys have similar gifts. So when we work together, it amplifies the field. The visions that I see are tripled, quadrupled, right? So everything is stronger, more intense. The messages come in more clearly. So it's great fun to be able to work with these soul brothers and soul sisters.
Sounds beautiful. And so do the messages are clearer? Do they sometimes like you have to go, whoa, they're all happening at once? So there's like many coming in, or is it still just one at a time as you need it?
For me, it's always one at a time, but it's because I work with the elements, there's often like a crazy windstorm or there's rain before and after I go out and do earthwork. Like those kind of messages combined,
Mhm.
things happen and then you see really big results, or you get these beautiful giant rainbows right after you complete your work, right? There's always this beautiful gift from Gaia herself in communication with your work that you're doing.
Yes, yeah, that is amazing. That is, yeah, it is so precious, isn't it, to have that confirmation and that gift, and saying thank you, I see you, thank you, and everything. So with the volcanoes, have you noticed any more activity as such that happens with them when you're working with them, or doesn't necessarily work like that?
No, it definitely does. The volcanoes themselves have a whole communication system that they work with, a grid just for the volcanoes. And I work with the volcanoes for the Pacific Ring of Fire specifically. For me, that's still connected to Lemuria. They're all connected from then. And so when I go to work with a volcano, the first thing is I have to check if its cosmic connector is blocked up, if it's working, if it's been taken over by another group of beings, right? What's happening there? So specifically, like what was happening here, the volcanoes in Java were trying to connect to the volcano here in Bali, but it was like they had indigestion. They couldn't quite get through. So instead of having their network work, one would have a activation and have some steam come out or explode a little bit, be active. And then it would try to send information over here to this one, and that would happen as well. They were communicating, but not on the highest level. Like the grid wasn't actually functioning. It was almost as if they were sending smoke signs to each other because that was the backup way of communication. So we helped clear the field and help them so that they could communicate on that higher level, like the electric grid.
Mm, beautiful. And the Ring of Fire, could you share a little bit more about the Ring of Fire for the audience?
Yes, so Lemuria is connected to the Pacific Ring of Fire, and the volcanoes are very much a part of that. Some of them are under the ocean now, which is super interesting, as Lemuria is no longer all present. There's bits and pieces that are connected, and where you are, brother, is part of that experience also. Yeah, so you and I have that connection, as you're a Lemurian, just like I am, during that timeline. And we worked with crystals. We worked, telepathically with the earth. We were very much in close connection with the earth at that time. But part of this experience of bringing the purity of Lemuria back, that timeline back, we have to activate the Ring of Fire again. It needs to come back online. And I think as we do that, we might see bigger shifts happen out in the ocean or on the earth. There might be parts of the continent that want to come back in connection. So that's exciting to me as we start getting these volcanoes talking again, even the underwater ones.
Wow. So you feel we may see the land rise.
Yes, yes.
How exciting is that? I just get big tingles and like, whoa, can really feel that. That's so amazing. And yet, I guess it's not amazing as well, because the Earth's such a living being, and we come and do that work, and she just she just responds to that because she just shows herself. It feels more so, and so with that happening, the waters, because I feel a lot of people don't realize the importance of the waters as well, and how much water there is on this planet. We're so linked into being on the land and just seeing land, this continent, this country, and so forth. But the water's massive. So when these places rise again, how do you see the waters? Is it still the same mass and same volume as what it is, or do you feel that will shift as well?
Well, as things start shifting and changing out in the ocean, there's going to be some flooding that happens on the earth plane. But it's not going to be it's not going to be a total wipeout as we've experienced in the past. The earth is not asking for that, but she's asking for people to listen, to be tapped in. And if you feel the call to move for whatever reason, it's important to listen to that intuition, and you will be guided to wherever you need to be for safety, for all the things, but to allow Gaia to shift and move as she needs to, because she's changing just as we are, as she draws closer to that galactic Gaia essence of herself.
Yeah, that's an important one, isn't it? To listen to that intuition. A lot of people are focused on living right beside the ocean and think it's the best place to be, and maybe not want to move. But yeah, it's beautiful what you say, because Gaia's not here to harm us or hurt us or do anything to us, when we have choice within that. So it's important to honor that. So yeah, I think that's good that you share that, because I'm sure there are people that get those insights or nudges in other areas of their life even, and just go, oh no, I just want to stay here, whether it's a relationship, job, place, whatever it is. Yeah. So how much longer are you there for in Bali?
This is actually my closing out of my last week. I'll be going home this next week and I'll be traveling on the day out of time, which is super interesting on the Mayan calendar. That'll be my transport, and actually going back to the West Coast where it's like I almost gain a whole day back as I travel through time and space. Super interesting that that's the day that the guides were like, okay, you can come back on that day.
It is.
But
It
I
is.
feel like it's super interesting to note that if we think of the Pacific Ring of Fire as holding the codes and the keys to Lemuria, where I am right now in Bali has a little bit more ancient codes to it. The timeline before Lemuria is the timeline of Mu, and it's a little bit more ancient, more prehistoric, if we want to say that. And so that's part of also my journey connecting with Bali, is that connecting to those most ancient codes. And when I come up for connection with that, I have like the dragons that want to work with me here. There's a lot of dragon energy here on this island. So it's fun to see which dragons want to come forward and what kind of work they're asking for. So that's been a extra special piece of this journey as well.
Nice. And what do you find is the difference between working with the Lemuria time and the Mu time? Is it the dragons, or is there more than that?
I believe that there's more than that for sure. I was out at the southernmost point on the island for a little while. And it was a beautiful experience for me. The ocean was showing me these light cities that were out in the ocean using crystal technology that wanted to come into awareness again as connection to the master crystals that are located all over the earth. And I believe some of these master crystals maybe came in during the timeline of Mu. They were there probably before Lemuria, before we knew how to work with them. But Mu to me feels like a lot of creation time. I don't know. I know for sure I was not quite here on the earth at that time. I don't know how many like human beings were here, but more light beings, galactic beings. And I think maybe the time of the dinosaurs for creation was probably around that time too. I think the dinosaurs were very present and the dragons were very present.
Some have said there wasn't dinosaurs; that there were just dragons, and they created dinosaurs as a disguise for the dragons. Have you even heard of anything like that, or know of anything like that?
I've heard of that, but I also think that maybe there was both.
Hmm.
Like, what if they're just different races?
Yeah, yeah, that could be so. That could be so. Here in New Zealand, we have a tuatara. It actually lives more on the couple of islands now. It's not so much on the mainland, but it is said to be the oldest living being on the planet. So from those times, it's managed to stick around. So that's also special, and I think that's part of the strong energies of New Zealand and Lemuria and the connection with yeah those
That's
energies for
beautiful.
sure.
Yeah. New Zealand has some very ancient codes, even for the humans also. You guys have some very deep origin codes that you carry.
And have you felt called to work in New Zealand?
I definitely want to visit. I don't know that it's an activation place for me, but definitely feels like a home base maybe, or a place that will have some sort of family connection. Yeah. Yeah.
You also have physical family here as well, in the sense of people that you know nowadays. Of course, our souls, but like Leanne and others that you connect with here. So you'll have plenty of places you can come to and stay.
Oh, that's lovely.
Mm. So yeah, I think it's really awesome. There's so much we can talk about because you do a lot of things, and like I said in your bio, but it's quite nice to stick with this what we're sharing here. So, is there anything more that you feel you want to share around Lemuria, Mu, or and the purpose of being in Bali and what comes next?
I think what is important when we connect to Lemuria is having that experience of being connected to the heart. I feel like Lemuria comes forward only when we're connected to our heart space, We can't be in the human mind, or else we can't experience Lemuria. And when we're in that heart space, we notice that our reality changes, colors get brighter, experiences are richer, right? We're able to bring back that vibration of what our souls possibly remember from that timeline. That's part of my work, is to bring back the purity of that timeline, but then also mix it with the new earth vibration in order to create the new earth together. We need the ancient codes and we need the new codes together.
Yeah, I can feel that as well. And I feel they're really coming online, aren't they? I think there's more people opening up and bringing through the ancient codes, as well as stepping into the new earth codes, and really saying yes to that kind of living.
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of us, as the earth continues to raise in her vibration, we're starting to awaken to more of our soul remembrances, right? So our past lives, our parallel timelines, because as that vibration changes, we're able to kind of raise into that high space where we're able to tap into all things. And with that comes our soul memories. I have very distinct soul memories of Lemuria, the end of Lemuria specifically, when it was about to be the time of the Great Flood. During that lifetime, I again worked with the volcanoes. I worked with some of them on Big Island, Mauna Loa. I remember her being brought into creation. I was part of the group that got to create her and experience her birth coming into the earth. And so I worked very closely with the volcanoes on Big Island. And through the portal spaces, I would help elders transition when it was time for them to go to the next space. And so I have just soul understanding of how that works, even with humans now today. Like I do that with my clients if they're so asked, the sacred journey, when they're ready to transition, my body and my soul just knows how to do that as one of the sacred keepers. Yeah. But I also remember humanity kind of, as we got towards the end of the Lemurian timeline, we went out of sync with nature. I remember the volcanoes starting to erupt and become a little bit more dangerous. And then we began to not trust the earth. And when we did that, when we accepted the consciousness of fear, that brought in the shift and the change, that brought in the density that led to the big flood and the end of that timeline. So very specifically, my soul remembers kind of escaping all the lava that was exploding from the volcanoes and going into a cave and going into sacred ceremony with 12 other beings. And these are the soul beings. I call them the masters of my monad group that I'm here to connect with again in this lifetime. So a continuation of my soul mission from that took a pause until now, when I entered into this lifetime. And I have that remembrance of, oh, I'm here to find people. I'm here to connect people. And as the one that remembers the details the most, I'm the glue to call them all back in and connect. And I have this beautiful vision when I connect everybody together. We're all going to be called into a certain location, and we're going to activate one of the volcanoes there with all of our codes. And at that time, all of the sun disks will activate and turn on as well. Each one of us masters in this monad group is in charge of a sun disk. And we hid them through time and space so that they could not be corrupted. And we had the help of our dragons to do that. So now, as part of our awakening process, each one of us has to turn on and say yes, remembering our codes, and then remembering where our sun disks are. So that's part of the crazy adventure that I'm on now. I will see somebody either in physicality or online and just have this remembrance of, my soul recognizes you and we should chat because it feels like we have a deep connection here. And so when I do that, I have all these doorways that open up because yes, usually they remember some part and piece of it also. And then like this experience here in Bali, I'm able to meet up with them. And there's actually a sun disk here that I got to help activate and put my codes onto. It's not my specific sun disk, but it was asking for an activation. Each one of us 12 is in charge of helping to activate each sun disk. We all carry different codes, different star maps, different locations, different knowledge that the Earth and humanity needs to fully turn back on. And so at that final place, when we all come together, we're going to activate them all at once. And it's going to be a big shift that happens.
It will be huge.
Mm.
That will be quite a gathering. Wow. And have you met all 12?
No, I'm still on that journey. So I have about 5. And each time I get to connect with them, whether on Zoom or in person, my soul feels so happy. It's like, I got you back. But then at the same time, I remember the very ending of Lemuria when the ocean came in, wiped us out. And so I have a little bit of trauma that comes up as well. And so that's also part of my process here. Our beautiful soul sister was taking me into the ocean every day so that I can slowly work my way back to having that trust with the ocean again.
Mm. So you have difficulty getting in the water?
Yes, I'm okay when I can see the bottom, but when I'm far out and I cannot see the bottom, my physical body likes to panic a little bit.
Wow, interesting. Yeah, I have because yeah, I've done a lot of sports in my life, and I was more or less an extreme skier for many years, and I could jump off cliffs and things like that. But you put me above water, even on a stone, just a foot or 2 feet or a meter above the water, to just jump into the water freaks me out big time. Like absolutely, yeah, I get really frozen, and I love water and I can swim in water, but in that situation, I feel there's something really on a deeper level for me.
Yeah, there's a lot of us that I've met with the same timeline that all have this kind of experience with the ocean.
Mm,
A lot of my best friends that also have these same soul memories, same same experience with the ocean. That's all something that we carry because of the ending of that timeline.
yeah, and do you think also, not just Lemuria, but Atlantis as well, because it
Yeah.
finished in a similar way? So yeah,
Yeah, that's another experience where the earth went through a big flooding, a big change, a big start over, if you will.
yeah, for sure. So, like, you can remember the end. So, do you feel? So, where were you when that happened? When you're in Lemuria and your soul remembers that? Which part of the world?
For me, the home base for our monad group, our soul group, is Big Island itself.
Okay.
So the biggest island in Hawaii.
Yeah, yeah. And do you feel that was the end of Lemuria, or did it happen in different stages and different parts, or like it all just happened at once?
No, I think it probably happened in different stages, but for me in that specific location, that
Mhm.
dimensional space was the end. I remember the ocean coming into the cave where we were in sacred ceremony and wiping us out.
And do you know, were you responsible for other souls that were lost, and that's part of your journey as well, or is that not part of your journey?
I've done a lot of energetic work, just helping that experience with humanity, any souls that feel like they are still stuck in that timeline to cross over, to bring them to the light, to reach completion as part of like the clearing of that trauma for myself, but all of humanity as well.
Very
And what's
important work.
Yeah, what's also something is like a little clue that I gave myself was that I gave myself the birthday of December 7th, Pearl Harbor Day, almost as a clue to get myself back to the island. And I didn't understand until I was fully awakened why I would ever choose that birthday for myself in this lifetime.
Mm.
And it was actually like a beautiful gift when I finally got over to Oahu, where that Pearl Harbor location is. And I did a massive clearing there also for humanity for that time of World War II, for all of the experience that humanity had at that time. And I was blessed so much. I got like 3 or 4 rainbows at a time when I was in completion after I cleared as much as I could clear for everybody during that timeline. And then I was taken by my guides to this beautiful heiau, which is an ancient temple. And I just felt completely held. I felt so loved and held, and I just cried again because it was all I could do.
Wow, that's amazing. Wow. That's huge. That's huge work, That's really, really, yeah, big. When was that?
I did this. This was the last, it's been about a year and a half. So I've taken a couple trips since I was aware of all this unfolding over to Big Island specifically. And one was the first solo journey where I went to Oahu first and did that clearing and then came over to Big Island. And then I just camped out with the volcanoes for like 2 weeks and just did my work and then went home. And then I was called back there again this last January to open a giant portal on Mauna Kea on 111. And so I went up to the volcano and I had this beautiful, massive experience with this crazy windstorm and dragons around and just processing energy through my body as best I could and just taking in that experience of being able to open a portal on that date. And there was a massive shift that was felt on the island. I got some connections that were like, what just happened? Like, what's happening now? Right. And so that was part of my gift, but also my gift to myself and part of the gift to that island and for humanity, right? It's to create these shifts, to create these light portals to help shift Gaia and help shift humanity.
Beautiful. And do you often work just yourself physically, or do people, like sometimes, like now you're working with two others and physical, which is helping you as part of your main soul group. But when you go to these other places, you just go on your own, or sometimes do you have someone, or sometimes you might meet someone that you weren't necessarily aware of, but no, they had a purpose in it as well.
I mostly work by myself, only because that was my default for so long. But now I'm like, I don't want to do this alone. Let's call in the soul family. Let's call in whoever else wants to help and can collaborate and have those experiences. On any journey that I do, I'm always connected to either a local or a soul family of some sort that I meet there as part of like a side journey. But I always have like one specific mission that I'm there to do. And it's usually just me by myself until now. And so that experience of being with the soul family is such a treasure, such a gift. And I'm grateful for it.
Yeah, like you say, it enhances everything as well, doesn't it? So, and yeah, that must be just amazing to know, the potential of your own being and the service that you're giving, and going there and doing it, and then going, oh, actually, I have this default that I need to do this on my own, and I get now move through it, and wow, now look what we can do, and I can actually also share it with others, and yeah, feed off each other and enhance each other. That's really beautiful, and it's what I feel that's what this now time is more and more about, isn't it? It's really about us coming back to our soul groups and doing our soul missions and
Yeah.
the big ones, the really big ones we're here for.
Yeah, we're all being called together, right? And to learn what that is like. Because I'm finding that it's like through that monad group, that soul group, that the deepest healing takes place because we share the same gifts. Some of the inter stuff that I can't possibly see in my own stuff because my soul's just learned how to bypass it over the years. They're beautiful mirrors for our own work, our soul work, and helps us all advance better, faster when we work together.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the good old mirror, and within that the trigger. It's another way of going, oh yeah, okay, I have that to work on and let go of. Yeah, and then like you say, I've got a group that I work closely with. There's a mission, and especially the first person that I connected with, we were both just like, I don't know anyone who talks like that. I talk like that, but I have never heard anyone talk like that. And they're saying the same thing, and you feel like that, yeah. Well, I feel like that as well. It's so special to have that connection, it's really something magical. And then of course the purpose that comes with it is also very special, because yeah, we really want to do these big important missions and really help humanity and Mother Gaia. And I think in just the latter years, how stronger the knowing has come for people to go, Gaia is actually super important, you know? I think a lot of people thought our humanity was important in that shift, and otherwise, if we don't do it, we're gonna die, and Gaia's gonna be fine, she just carries on. But people are like, "No, actually, no, we have to really honor this beautiful, benevolent being, and she requires us to be here for her and her us."
Yeah, I think more people are stepping into that role of guardianship, right? Of stewardship of these sacred places on the earth. And it's all shifting. Like some of these beautiful soul brothers and sisters who have done it for so long are sometimes stepping back. They're trading positions and new ones are coming forward. And I really think that it's like with the connection of the soul group that our soul missions can actually take place. I don't think if I was on a solo mission forever, that the completion of that mission that started in Lemuria would be able to finalize. I need the others. I need to find everybody.
Yeah, because like you say, you activate each other.
Mhm. Very much so. And it's fun and it's beautiful.
Wow. Is there anything else you want to share while while we're with us?
There's a message about just how we carry codes for each other. That's also another part. I had this beautiful experience with our soul sister who here in Bali, while we were connected, she had an experience when she traveled 10 years ago, where she collected a bunch of codes by connecting to this giant Lemurian crystal. And it had been in her system and she'd been carrying it for 10 years. And then she told me the story as we were sitting over dinner. I get more excited. And I'm like, those are my codes. Like she has my codes for me. So we did a transference of energy and code exchange, and it lasted over 10 minutes. The energy was so strong and so big that came between our systems. And then at the end, it was like I had gotten my ocean codes back, is what it felt like. Like my connection with the ocean that I had been strongly seeking for so long, all of those parts and pieces were able to come together, like pieces of that puzzle for my soul finally came home. And I knew that I had been missing them. I just didn't know where to find them. And she had just been carrying these in her system for over 10 years, waiting for the right time of when she would be called to transfer those. And that's a beautiful gift that I could never have asked for or knew what to expect. It was so unexpected and such a blessing. And it's changed my experience with the ocean while I've been here. There's a higher vibration now when I connect. My hands and my feet turn on when I'm in connection with the ocean, but it's not my fire connection. It's not my volcano connection. It's not my dragon connection. It's this vibe of Gaia in her ocean times, and it's a different vibration, and it's almost celestial. It's that kind of plasma feeling. It's very playful, very fun, and it's just something that has definitely changed me, but I also know that it's part of my future work.
Wow. It was just recently this happened.
Yeah, this was during our connection time, probably 3 weeks ago. Yeah.
Mm.
And since then, every time I go to the ocean, there's different codes that want to drop in while I'm there. And
Wow.
there's the tangible experience that is I can't explain it almost because it's just so different than what I've ever had.
And so you just sit in the ocean and receive them, or what is it?
Yeah, or just be in her presence when I'm just open and connecting to her. I don't have to go inside the ocean. I can just be there and be present, and the codes will drop down from the sky, or they'll come directly out of the ocean and come into my heart space or where my Stargate lives. So there's definitely activations always.
And did this lady know she was carrying your codes?
She does, but only after that experience. She didn't know they were for me going into
Okay.
it. She just
Oh,
felt prompted to tell that story. And through that prompting, we were both like, oh my gosh, these are yours. And I was like, yes, they are.
so on some level, you were open for that, I guess, for you to be able to come together and receive them, even though you didn't know where they were, but on some level, you were still open for. wherever
Yes,
they were coming from.
yeah, for sure. I knew that they were something that I needed in this lifetime. I just didn't know who was the person to connect to receive that. Because I get called to places to connect with the sacred waters all the time, like headwaters, river waters, these sacred waterfalls all the time. And it's part of that activation for the sacred waters to come back. So those water codes that we need to come back and activate. And some of these deep inner earth waters to turn on again. So some of those water codes.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, I get called to the waters as well. Sometimes I just end up, I can walk to like a forest, river, or waterfall, and I just have to get in it. As soon as I get there, it's like, okay, it's the middle of winter, the sun's not out, I don't have a towel or anything, but yeah, I've got to get in. Bring through some codes, and I find it's really fascinating. I love it because the most sensitive part of my body is my feet, ankles, and shins. But whenever I'm called to bring through codes and have to stand in the water to do so, I don't feel cold, and sometimes it's like 20 minutes, 20, 25, 30 minutes, and often standing up to my waist. And in this gorge, especially, that I've been to a few times, every now and again I get this rush of warm water caress my legs, and I'm like, oh, thank you. Oh, that's so nice.
I think that's part of our Lemurian gifts. I think all of us that are from that timeline are water keepers and water wisdom keepers. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
yeah, I feel so too. Yeah. So this has been amazing. I think, thank you for coming on. I feel we're getting close to finishing. So is there anything else you feel to share before you go? Anything for anyone else that may assist them as well on their journey?
I think it's important just to note that, like, as humanity's waking up, as we all wake up into our gifts, it's important to know that we're not alone, right? So you all have a family. We all have a family out there, soul family, an incarnational group that's there looking for you as you are for them. And those are the beings that have those similar gifts that are just waiting to exchange with you, waiting to connect with you. And as we do and we gather, it helps Gaia to shift even more. And it helps us to shift as we are in coherence with all of our soul family. And this is how the 12 tribes will be gathered together again. This is how Gaia will shift back to the purity of all these timelines that each one of us carries. And our codes will come through and exchange. And we do that in exchange of the heart space, right? So as we go through our journeys, our heart expands as part of that process. And we get to connect on the higher levels, not just the human levels, but the soul levels, the galactic levels, the source field levels. It's all out there for us. And we are so loved and connected and supported in so many ways beyond what our human can have awareness of.
Aho. Beautiful. Yeah, that's really, really, that's beautifully shared, just everything how you shared that. I think that's wonderful. And I think that's a lot of food for thought for anyone who feels connected to this call and wants to listen in. Yeah, so thank you, Kacie. Thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure to connect with you. And thank you for your wisdom and your heart and your love and your service. Yeah, amazing. And thank you all for listening. We're really grateful. Go well, journey well, and yeah, stay open, be curious, trust, and like Kacie says, we're not alone. So yeah, we're okay. We can be true to ourselves as much as we wish to, because we're always supported and loved.
Perfect. Thank you, brother, so much. I look forward to us connecting again.
Thank you.
Mhm.